Welcome to Echoes of Ancient Minds, where the world's most dangerous, forgotten, and overlooked philosophies come back to life. Every video, we dig up an idea history tried to bury and ask what it still has to teach us today. In a kingdom full of male sages, scholars, and kings, one woman stood up and asked a question no one in the room could answer. Her name was Gargi, and the debate she started over 2,500 years ago is still being discussed by philosophers today. To understand why this moment mattered so much, you need to understand the world it happened in. Ancient India had a tradition of public philosophical contests called Brahmodya, formal, high-stakes intellectual debates, often sponsored by kings, where the era's greatest scholars would test each other's understanding of reality, truth, and the nature of existence. These weren't casual academic discussions. Reputations were built and broken in these halls. Scholars traveled great distances to participate, and the outcomes could shape which philosophical schools gained royal favor and patronage for generations. Gargi Vachaknavi is one of the very few women recorded as a major participant in these contests, and crucially, not as a footnote or a side character, but as a serious intellectual force whose questions are preserved in detail. The most famous account of her appears in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, one of the foundational texts of what would become Vedantic philosophy. In this account, a king has assembled the greatest philosophers of the age for a grand debate, offering a substantial prize to whoever proves themselves the most learned. Among the assembled sages is Yajnavalkya, widely regarded as one of the sharpest philosophical minds of his era. And it's Gargi who steps forward to challenge him with a question that becomes legendary for how relentlessly she pursues it. Her line of questioning follows a deceptively simple pattern. She asks, "This visible world, what is it woven into, like warp and weft in a piece of cloth?" Yajnavalkya gives an answer. She doesn't accept it as final. She asks again, "And what is that woven into?" He answers again. She pushes deeper still. "And what is that woven into?" This continues, layer after layer, each answer becoming the foundation for her next, sharper question. It's one of the boldest recorded examples of philosophical persistence from the ancient world, a refusal to settle for a surface-level explanation when a deeper one might exist. What makes this remarkable isn't just the content of the debate, it's the fact that it happened at all, and the way it's recorded. In a deeply patriarchal intellectual tradition, where women's voices are largely absent from surviving philosophical texts, Gargi is not humbled, dismissed, or written out of the account. She is taken seriously, engaged with directly, and treated as a worthy intellectual equal by one of the era's most respected sages. The text doesn't soften her questions or suggest she's out of place. It simply presents her as one of the sharpest minds in the room, because that's what the historical record suggests she was. It's worth sitting with how rare this kind of preservation actually is. Across most ancient philosophical traditions, Greek, Chinese, Indian, and beyond, surviving texts are overwhelmingly authored by and about men. Women's intellectual contributions, even when they existed and were significant in their time, were often left unrecorded, attributed to male teachers, or simply forgotten as historical memory narrowed over centuries. Gargi's survival in the text isn't just a nice historical detail. It's a genuine anomaly, a crack in the pattern that lets us glimpse something the broader record usually erases. So how does the debate actually resolve? Eventually, Yajnavalkya's chain of answers arrives at a final point, an answer about what underlies and pervades everything, all things woven into a single, ultimate ground of reality, a concept that becomes central to later Vedantic philosophy and its understanding of Brahman, the underlying unity behind all apparent diversity in the world. But it's crucial to recognize that this profound philosophical conclusion doesn't emerge from Yajnavalkya operating alone. It emerges specifically because Gargi refused to stop asking, layer after layer, until the conversation reached its deepest point. The insight belongs as much to her relentless questioning as to his final answer. There's also something worth noting about how the broader debate at that royal gathering proceeds. Gargi isn't the only challenger that day, and by some accounts, she returns to question Yajnavalkya more than once throughout the event, each time pressing him on different aspects of reality and existence. She doesn't simply ask one good question and step back. She's depicted as a sustained, active participant across an extended intellectual contest among the era's greatest minds. So here's what's worth thinking about, sitting here over 2,000 years later. How many other women across ancient history asked equally sharp, equally relentless questions in rooms just like that one and simply weren't written down? Gargi survived because someone chose to preserve her words in a text that endured. For every Gargi we know about, how many went unrecorded entirely? Their questions lost the moment the room went silent. Let me know if you've heard of other ancient women philosophers in the comments. I genuinely love to dig into more of them in future videos. That's Echoes of Ancient Minds, uncovering the philosophies history almost erased. If this kind of forgotten wisdom is your thing, hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.